Alright, welcome back. Now today we're having an interesting conversation like we told you earlier on when we were starting. Jim Mudhegi and I are going to be interrogating all matters digital and social media today. Like we said in the morning, it is important to think before you post. And to help us put that in perspective, we have Dennis Itumbi, a man who wore past tense, wore many hats. Now he's the director of digital, and so he's going to be helping us. And also we're expecting Phil Pogola, who calls himself the digital humanitarian. He'll be joining us a little bit later on as well. Remember, you can talk to us using the hashtag Power Breakfast. That's the hashtag Power Breakfast on Twitter, and the SMS lines are open as well. You can use it. It's 22422. That number again, 22422. Yes. Habari yako? Simba, habari yako. Good morning. Siku mingi sana.
Good morning. I'm well.
Watu wa nini wanakujanga na simu mbili.
Simu kadhaa. There might be others in the pot.
Yes, it's really digital. Zingine kuna hazo zingine hapa. But let's kickstart the conversation with them. First of all, there's always tumetoka analog and digital, a lot of craze about digital and social media. But how important is it in shaping opinion and even, since now you're there, policy?
Yeah, it's been a journey to shaping policy. In terms of shaping opinion, which is where we started, there is little need for debate around it around the world, including in countries where it's not allowed. Social media, like China, they had to create their own social media to be able to impact on conversation. So there is no question about opinion. The issue is policy, because the chat or the career path of bloggers, digital strategists, when you go to government, the Public Service Commission did not recognize what is digital strategist, what is bloggers. But over the last 3 years, one of the biggest achievements we've managed to have is to force government to recognize that blogging is actually a career. And now it's recognized under the Public Service Commission, which then means that you can get into government employed as a blogger the same way you get to government and you're employed as a doctor or employed as a teacher, and you're given a job group and a career path up to the PS level. We're hoping that we're going to push it to the CS level within the next 1 year, that you can actually come in and be able to get into policy world in that career path. So I think it's been a journey, but we are there now.
Yeah, and I think all of this has made people very aware of their online presence, which is kind of what we wanted to talk about today. You know, social media is past the point of just being somewhere where you just go and post your photos and look nice and say a couple things about whatever it is that is trending at the moment. I think it's important for people to take control of their personal branding and just online presence. How important do you think that is?
Very important, and which is why in the current context we have a conversation around hate speech, and also a conversation around incitement to violence using social media handles. You should be aware from 2013 to now we have had a total, plus there are cases on iTax on the KRA portal, we have had a total of 34 cases around the social media space. And it will be interesting as we move forward to even have a longer conversation around what exactly is happening in those cases, what are the arguments, what are the judgments, how is our legal sector being shaped, what are the precedents being set there, because internationally serious cases have been made, including on the journalism sector, in the use of how newsrooms use social media. I mean, the most recent in Australia, where a journalist posted something on Facebook before it went on air on their own newsroom, and was fired and went to court, and there's an interesting decision around that. So when you talk about personal branding, if you get on the social media space and you don't know who you are or why you're here, you end up becoming just a guy walking in town. But if you have named that place Communication Center, then people know you are at Communication Center. So the personal branding is absolutely important, so that people know this guy, when you go to his page, this is a guy who sorts you out on how to exercise, this is a guy who sorts you on how to fix your car, this is a guy who sorts you on where to buy the best shoes in town, and this is the other guy who sorts you about the club that has just been opened in town. So
somebody for everything.
Yes, for everything. All right, and also in that space of branding, and we saw that question earlier, we were talking about it. There is a lot of people, what you'd call confused brands out there. So one day they talk about this, the other day they talk about this. How important is it also to just have that, will you say, if you come and viatu, tuongee tu viatu, tusione leo mwongea viatu, while also not losing yourself, because I'm sure people want to plug in, like now you talk about hate speech. Somebody would like to plug in, yes, I sell shoes, but I have an opinion about hate speech and it counts and I have to do it the right way.
This is how it works. If I have a question about economics, I'll look for Bankere so that he can tell me on his post, what does this mean? We are able to buy shares on our mobile phones, how? And how does it affect my personal economics? If I want to speak about a new disease that has come into Kenya, I'll look for a doctor who is respectable online to give me. But, and that is one of the things that I personally face, because now you head the entire government and you have to speak about the Ministry of Agriculture, and tomorrow speak about Ministry of Tourism. Some of these things I don't even know them by the time I start speaking about them.
Right.
But the engagement with the experts in the field and the ministry helps you understand it. So what you do, you first of all establish yourself as a particular brand. If you're a journalist, you establish yourself as a business journalist. Then from there, if you comment about hate speech, you're commenting on it from yourself as a business journalist. So you're saying this hate speech has affected business. So the commenting outside your brand has always to be fixed to your brand, so that now people always know you're speaking to it because of a particular issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think one thing that comes up in this conversation that's very important is taking responsibility for what we post. Right. So a lot of organizations have gotten in trouble where they posted something that was offensive at some point in time. You just blame an intern. Right. Blame it on the new intern. Apologize. I mean, what do you think about that whole realm?
Government has gotten into it since we got on this space in 2013. I mean, we've posted at one time. I remember we posted something about an apology, a condolence to some soldiers who had been reported by the media were dead, but eventually came out that they were not dead. So we actually put it out. The thing is, the freedom of speech and media needs to be also the freedom to make mistakes. Without the freedom to make mistakes, then you don't have absolute freedom. So our policy, our internal policy is, do not be afraid of making mistakes. Make mistakes, but apologize, don't blame. So at that point, we went out and said, yes, we made the mistakes, we apologize, and we moved on. I mean, it is important to acknowledge that mistakes can be done. There is no perfection in speech. Social media is a conversation, and just like a stammer, mistakes are bound to be made.
And what about guys who, like you said, once you make the mistake, the trolling that happens, the hashtag, the bullying that happens as well. I remember once I was reading one of your posts, and you talked about you're trying to form a legislation, and the comments over there were like, oh, now you're trying to gag us, now you're trying to stop us from expressing our freedom of speech. What do you have to say about that?
I've told this message enough times across different media houses and also in my other platforms. We have to tell bloggers and the social media space, you must self-regulate. If you don't self-regulate, the state will come in. The media itself started this conversation in 1991. And this is from my reading, that Wangari Mwangi of The Nation and Joe Cardi, a media scholar, came up with guidelines to guide media on how they would report stuff. Then those guidelines are not enforceable. So what did they do? The state came in and did a law, which became the Media Act of 2007, and eventually has been revised now to Media Act of 2013 to comply with the new constitution. The Media Act is a self-regulation law that backs self-regulation in the media, peer-to-peer. Social media must come as peers, form strong associations, which then bring peers together to say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, here I think you got it wrong. So this has to be corrected. These are our rules in Kenya for doing stuff, and that becomes peer-to-peer. You can be able to call them, and that will help bloggers, because one, they will be able to do training, they will be able to do social exchanges with other countries, they will be able to be recognized in functions through accreditation. Proper self-regulation is a compulsory aspect in any society and any career. If we are trying to build a career, we cannot build a career on one side, we are creating jobs, but you are saying, no, you can't regulate. I mean, lawyers have the Law Society of Kenya Act, doctors have the dentist, medical practitioners and dentist board, journalists have the Media Act. Social media should consider having a social media council that then overlooks as peers. Regulation is not a compromise. If it does not happen among peers, the state, and I will play a key role, unfortunately, will come in.
Just so you know. Back on the sort of the personal level, they say the internet doesn't forget. So whatever you post out there, is out there, and a lot of times you can't control what it is that people say about you, what they write about you. So there is a post that you made in 2013 that people have kind of gotten on you about the bus stop at City Stadium, and people, that was in 2013. So now people are reminding you, you said this was going to happen. It's 2016, it's not happened. Maybe you can speak on that a little bit.
Okay, immediately after after this I'm going to another station, but immediately after, by lunchtime today, I'll post the full designs and the agreed areas. You see, the dreams are allowed. You can, at that time we were dreaming.
Dreams are valid.
Yeah, we dreamt and said we were going to build 5 stadiums. Now we know, because of allocation of budget, we can only build 3 at least by 2017, or start building 3 by 2017. We dreamt at that time. The dream has come of age. It has come to 3. We aimed, when we were going through school, we were told, aim at the moon to at least land
at the clouds.
So we aimed high and we landed somewhere. I mean, we aimed at providing laptops. People went to court and there has been a major battle. People ended up having digital devices in terms of iPads, which have digital curriculum put in. It does not mean the dream is dead. We still believe, and I still believe, we can achieve City Stadium to that particular status. Yes, we put it out, even in Kibera, that we are going to change the entire housing and shanties to have modern housing. We've done about 20,000 units of houses. We've not managed to change the entire Kibera, but the diagrams that we put at that time were for the entire Kibera. Dreams are allowed.
Have you ever had one of your tweets come back at you? Like, because I don't know how people find them. From like years ago, oh, you said this and this. Yeah, the screenshot.
The screenshot, and it happens in like a flash like that. That happens a lot to people. But also, there's that thing about, somebody asked a question when we posted earlier about the guys who are bullying. But before that, I'd like to ask, like you talked about, how will you self-regulate? I mean, recently I think there was this person who went to court, and because they called the other person names on SMS, then they were charged. But here's a place where, I mean, in any given troll, there are so many people who will say so many things, and of course they're hiding behind that, or it can be, somebody can be named at 07123 CED, right? So how do I go to court and say, okay, at 07123 CED has, you know, offended me, and then something happened?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys who was moved to court against a fellow blogger, one Mr. Robert Alai, and I must mention that I had actually told him that I would use his name So basically, Mr. Robert Alai at one time claimed that I had forged a document that was then tabled in Parliament on the ICC, and he put up on his Twitter handle. That was in 2012. I moved to court to tell the court, look, man, this guy has defamed me, so I need to be compensated. And that case is still on. One of the defenses that Robert Alai put was that Robert Alai does not belong to him. So now I was thrown into a spin to actually prove that Robert Alai was actually in the account. Those are the challenges of self-regulation. If you allow government to self-regulate, if bloggers do not come together and decide we can actually self-regulate ourselves, if government comes in, then it's going to be punitive. But if it is self-regulation, those kind of things can be dealt with, because in such a case, I would have come to the Social Media Council, put up my case against Robert Alai instead of going to court. And then Robert Alai would have come and said, no, man, we can sort this out. I'm sorry, I would delete that tweet, and it would have ended there without a court process. Self-regulation is a form of mechanism to protect bloggers themselves, even from court processes. So people should stop looking at regulation as a form of clampdown and look at regulation as a form of empowerment.
But if you're clamping down on the okay, it's good that we clamor maybe on the bloggers, but the bloggers themselves sometimes, you know, they write stuff without even common stuff like right of reply. Like I'll say, okay, Joey seen with, I don't know, high slit, and they don't even call. Maybe she was, you know, she was wearing a gown, and they don't even call to find out, like, okay, wamesema ulikuwa nayo kweli, and it just goes out there. And then if you go, because this will happen, you know, I've tried and other people have tried to trace, but you can't trace hii mtu alifungua na akaenda, ama they just bought the domain name and then somebody else is using
but
it.
But the information is still out there.
Yes, and the information is still there.
I think we need to empower people that in the event of those kind of trolls which threaten life or which tell stories that affect your career, then you have an opportunity. The CID did now have a properly functioning cybercrime unit, can be able to report there, and there is no anonymity on social media. We are able to track anyone, even using any form. As long as you have a hardware, and you must have an hardware to put out the software, you will be traced and you'll be tracked and you'll be gotten. Some people think when you go to a cyber cafe and you use a computer, you can be able to get away with it. Very bad.
Open fake accounts and spew whatever it is that you want to spew online.
So also to add, because you have a conversation that's going on around hate speech,
right?
As a country, we must rise a generation of people and bloggers who stand in the gap and say, you know what, it doesn't matter whether it's Jubilee or whether it's CORD. The president of this country, when he raised the Bible to be sworn into office, he swore allegiance to the Republic of Kenya. So Kenya comes first. Then whether you support you support Uhuru or you support whoever you support, those people come second. We must begin a conversation that says no one speaks for me when they seek to kill other people. We must have a generation of people who are willing to die for this country, not kill for it.
Right. And also one question as well is the fact that here is somebody who is applying for jobs. You know, these days people look at
social media is the new CV.
Yes, it's the new CV. And so, like for example, if somebody was to come to apply, say, Dennis, I want a job. How are you going to look at their social media, and how will you balance? Because some things surely is life. Like somebody's going to catch one or two. You won't say what? Smoothies.
Some things were tweeted late at night.
And some, like Joey says, were tweeted late at night when you're in the spur of the moment. How do you now judge this person's character based? I mean, he has his life, yes, and you want to judge them and give them a job based on all that. Where do you do the line?
I don't know how people apply it, but for us, when I'm looking for, say, a blogger or a digital strategist, of course, social media is a place to go to. And you know, social media is, I mean, LinkedIn, where you post your CV, has now sold for 2.7 trillion Kenya shillings. That tells you the power of digital assets in terms of websites. That is not a plot or even a developed. It's not two rivers around that is being sold. It's not a supermarket or a mall. It's just a website. It's 2.7 trillion. So the worth of your usage of social media is too high there to cheapen it. So yes, we look at it. And how do we balance it? If you tweeted on the spur of the moment and you tweeted something that represents the spur of the moment, then you're a great digital strategist. You can capture different moments in different ways. So you look at it in an open mind. If you tweeted about a romantic adventure and you're applying for a professional thing and you tweeted it in a way that captures the poetic moment of that romantic adventure, you're a great digital strategist and you deserve the job.
So that's how you look at it.
Yes.
But you know, these days before people apply for jobs, you go and clean up your you say no, delete.
That's the other thing. Deleting tweets or whatever you have posted doesn't really go anywhere. Why do you think when you delete your tweet, where do you think it goes?
That's a good question.
It doesn't disappear. It is still up there. Somewhere. By the way, there is alltweets.com where you can get all the tweets since your first one. Even if you delete, it keeps that old record. So there is no deleting. Deleting is be sure that before you post, like you started by saying, think about it. Then for personal and organizations, you need to ask yourself fundamental questions. Is it necessary? Is it of impact? Does it relate and attach to me? If it doesn't deserve to go out. They say in justice that you don't raise the sword of justice in vain. In social media, you say you don't raise a crown of social media in vain.
The crown.
You must crown your tweets with honor.
More people need to understand that. I think we are a very opinionated society. And that shows on social media online.
Let's just take a look at some of the comments we have at the Ngosi saying today. So I don't know about the other days, but it says today I love this Itumbi guy. Yesterday maybe not. Great insights and eloquence. And then we have Mapozi _ GVN. He says, I am for self-regulation, but do we have a bloggers association? I think you are talking about that as well. And then others are saying they view social media as a way to get people informed. So of course there's just some
on bloggers association. Let me say this, and this has been a debate on social media circles. Social media users, and I'm looking at social media users in a broad perspective. People who just own websites and they update websites, people who have just a WhatsApp account or a Telegram account. My challenge to them is this: they need to get within a democratically elected social media council or social media association, more like the Journalist Association of Kenya or the Kenya Union of Journalists. These organizations have two aspects. They help you gain opportunities out there, so that like now there will be a big training of social media as we go to elections. You need a body that advances that. And what we have currently is a business, which is BIC, which is a business. What you need is an organization where people can come in and elect their leaders and they're able to push it. And I cannot push for it. The others need to push for it. I will only come in when people are able to form those organizations to regulate themselves, and for sure, I need to repeat this message, for sure, ahead of elections, ahead in the future and even going forward, Kenya is willing to be the first country to come up with proper social media regulations. The other countries can come back and run. When we started Huduma centers, people said, no, it cannot happen. You can't put it in one place. Today, if you go to the visitors book at Huduma Center GPO, you get almost 20 countries, including the developed world, coming to learn how to do Huduma centers in their areas. We are willing to put up a social media one-stop shop, which brings innovation, so that it's not only one-stop, and brings regulation of social media space, because we cannot continue to have a situation where people wake up in the morning and just decide we can preach against brother or against sister.
Right.
Some of us are willing to go that route of saying this will not happen in our lifetime, and as long as we hold office.
Well, as you said, dreams are valid, right?
Yeah.
you can always dream. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So of course, asante sana. We will keep this conversation. I think social media needs to keep happening, especially as we move towards the election, and we'll always be able to invite you to come. Now that you have 3 phones, I have all the
But today they liked it.
Today they liked it.
Let me say this. Maybe as we go on, as we end, it's good that we challenge viewers and people who are following the conversation on social media to adopt the words of our national anthem, that with hearts both strong and true, let us all with one accord, in common bond united, build this nation together, fill every heart with thanksgiving, and if that becomes our guide, then the trademark of Philippians chapter 4 verse 8, because I can see there was a bank there that was uplifting us, that whatsoever is true, whatsoever is noble, whatsoever is right, whatsoever is excellent and word of praise, let's think only of such things. God bless you and God bless Kenya.
Ukiingia government watu waomba sana. Alright, the final tweet here, KE_part says, what? Hiyo ya delete imenishtua sana.
Yeah.
So, don't be careful of what you tweet, even if you delete it, bado iko tu hapo kwa.
It's in the cloud.
One of our cameramen, Mauritius, would say, iko tu hapo kwa atmosphere. So all right, again, thank you so much for coming through at Ole Itumbi, and we'll go to the band. Remember, Cheche is up next, and you can keep following that conversation as well. Udwa Kamimo, atakuwa hapa, David Makali, and Mutegi Njao to take you through today's topics. So keep it Citizen TV, and also now let's listen to Koga, the band.